So my setup is seriously ghetto right now, but I basically just got a call from my doctor's office regarding my Paxil. I have been meaning to give an actual update about the Paxil for like a month, basically as long as I've been taking it. I'm on week 5. I'm weaning myself off of it. I'm waiting for them to call me back to tell me how to wean me off of it because I don't want them to know that I already started, even though it doesn't seem to matter, and I will tell you why. When you have a chronic health condition, particularly one that's as controversial as Lyme disease, you're going to run into asshole doctors, and that's just the way it is. It's not necessarily their fault. They were taught a certain thing. They were, brought up in a certain type of healthcare system, and in the Memphis area, Lyme disease is not supposed to exist. If it does exist, they ask you where you've traveled, things like that. As I mentioned in my post-ictal video, I've had Lyme disease since I was 14 years old, and I'm now 29, so that makes 15 years that I've had Lyme disease. It's gotten worse since 2007. It was basically when I noticed that I was getting pneumonia once a year instead of once every 2 years, and I was having trouble working out even for short periods of time, and spending days recovering from just a walk around the block and things like that. And it made things really difficult. It is definitely one of the contributing factors in both my getting married and I'm just going to blame Lyme crazy there. I was on condition white because I wasn't well, and it contributed to the end of my marriage because my husband didn't know how to deal with it, and he was kind of a baby, and I don't even give a shit if he sees this. Husband, you were a fucking baby. So anyway, all that aside, ever since about 2008, 2007, 2008, I've been diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I took a lot of different things for that. The thing is fibromyalgia is a syndrome. It's a set of symptoms. It's not a condition. Not a disease, rather. It's a condition, but it's not a disease. It's usually caused by something. There's usually an underlying cause that creates the set of symptoms that doctors call fibromyalgia. And that's why it does affect people so differently, because the cause of fibromyalgia may not be the same in one person as another. My mother is diagnosed with fibromyalgia. Her cause is not the same as mine, but we both have been diagnosed with the same condition. So we both have different reactions to it. We have different problems and different things. But we do have that genetic link. So there are certain things that happen that are very odd. Like this past month, I've basically spent on Paxil. I have thrown up more than I've eaten. And it's just because I'm nauseated all the time. And for a good period of time, basically every time that I wanted to eat something, like I was just desperate to get food down, the only thing I could eat was a Taco Bell bean burrito. That's disgusting. Like, that's so gross, it's so bad for you, but it's just what I could keep down. And I asked my mom about it. I was like, is that like just weird? And she goes, no, same for me at Taco Bell. That's what I can eat when I feel sick. And I figure, even with the lard, God, that's terrible. It's beans, it's got protein, and the tortilla doesn't have enough flour in it to really cause me any problems, and whatever, it's got onions in it, I don't give a shit, it's a bean burrito, it is what it is, but yeah, that's just like one example of, I guess, the genetic component linking us. We both have problems with insomnia. We both have a lot of the similar, like the same symptoms of fibromyalgia, but there are things that I have that she doesn't have and vice versa. So both of our conditions are caused by different things. And even if they were caused by the same thing, because we're two completely different people with different lifestyles and things like that, and I also have my dad's genes in my system, we would react differently. So if she happened to have Lyme disease as well, which I want her to get tested for, so Mom, please get tested if you can, it's showing up completely differently. And that's okay. You know, that's why it's a syndrome. That's why it's a set of symptoms. But anyway, the point of this is, I started on Paxil on actually the 11th of last month, so it was exactly a month yesterday. I can read a calendar. I'm excited. And almost immediately it started with nausea. I actually got car sick while I was driving because I had to turn my windshield wipers on. It's never happened to me before, and it freaked me out. I was on my way to work, and I get to work, and I have to watch this toddler, and her mom was still there, and I had to excuse myself like 3 times to go throw up because I was so nauseated from driving in the rain. That's not cool. So I called my doctor, and they were like, we'll split it up because what you're probably experiencing is withdrawal because of the half-life of the medication. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And so I split it in half, took half in the morning, half in the evening for a week to build it up in my system. And that abated the nausea a little bit. It's just enough that I could eat a little bit more. But at that point, I'd already lost 10 pounds from throwing up. That was 2 weeks in. 10 pounds. That's a lot in 2 weeks. Even for somebody who weighs as much as I do, and I'm not complaining about the weight loss, just the way it happened, that's pretty major. And that's actually one of the symptoms that's listed as, you know, contact your doctor immediately if, so that you can stop taking it. So I did, and their suggestion was, you know, to cut it in half, so that was fun. Another problem I started having over the last 2 weeks, which is what prompted me to be like, nope, not doing it anymore, is the factor that the reason I started taking the Paxil was because I'm on 0.5 milligram of Klonopin. And Klonopin's one of those drugs that if it doesn't really work for you at the lower doses, like raising the dose isn't going to do anything for you. And 0.5 milligram of Klonopin is just like, you know. So I finally consented to take the Paxil because that's my doctor's pet medication. She's been trying to get me to take it for a year. I finally consented because I was tired of having panic attacks. I was tired of having seizures. And what happens when I start taking the Paxil? I immediately start having panic attacks that are worse than the ones I was having before because they were coming out of nowhere. It wasn't stress related. It was just random ass, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning panic attack waking me up. And that's not cool. I have shit to do. I'm in grad school. I'm supposed to be working. No. And then over the past 2 weeks, I've had 3 stress-related seizures. That's not cool. So clearly the Paxil's not doing what it's supposed to, and it's actually making things worse, so I need to get off of it. So I called the doctor's office on Thursday, left a message. Nobody called me back. My doctor is actually not in the office on Friday, but I left a message on Friday hoping that the nurse on call would call me back and let me know, like, what I needed to do, because I'm trying to go through official channels here. I'm not trying to step on any toes. I gave it an honest effort. A month was the agreement. I'd try it for a month. If it didn't work at all or made me feel worse, I would stop taking it, and they would let me know how to wean myself from it. And that's all I was trying to confirm was, you know, if there was like something else I could try, or if I needed to up the dosage, like maybe my body's just processing it too quickly. Entirely possible. I have like psycho liver from hell. It just processes everything way too quickly, and I build up a tolerance for things really quickly. So that, you know, possibilities, there were options, you know, and I left a message understanding that I had those options and pointing those options out. Like, I'm willing to keep trying if that's what is necessary, because I don't like having panic attacks. I'm not doing this for attention. This is not fun for me. I missed an entire week of work this week, and now I'm like $300 behind on my bills because I got nothing. I didn't get paid this week. So it's affecting my life, like, pretty severely. So I finally got a call back today. I didn't think the doctor's office would be open because it's Veterans Day. But they are, or observed Veterans Day. I think yesterday was actually Veterans Day. But anyway, so they called me, and actually the nurse, my doctor's nurse, called me. So it was actually a direct line from my doctor rather than just the nurse on call, which I did appreciate. But she passed on the message from my doctor that they wanted to give me a consult and a referral to a psychiatrist. Not a psychologist, not a neurologist, not a Lyme literate doctor, not anybody who could actually help me with the root of what's causing this, which is a hormonal imbalance stemming from the fact that it's highly likely that my pituitary gland and my hypothalamus are now being affected by Lyme disease because I have every symptom of pituitary dysfunction. Yeah, including not being able to speak properly. That's brain swelling. It's awesome. I'm having a hysterectomy as soon as possible. Like, all my doctors are in agreement on this. Like, they're like, take the uterus out. That's cool. Because of the fact that I have such a bad hormonal imbalance that my periods cause me to pass out. Like, the cramps are that bad, and they cannot find any structural abnormalities. So it's all hormonal. My weight gain, hormonal. My stress, it's cortisol. It's my thyroid and everything, like, just acting up. So why don't we treat that instead of treating me like I'm crazy? Well, apparently they just want to treat me like I'm crazy. And this is not the first time this has happened. It's not going to be the last time it's happened. But it really upsets me and it frustrates me because I've put a lot of effort into building a relationship with this doctor's office. And this doctor in particular is the fourth in the past 5 years who has written me off as crazy. Tried to diagnose me as bipolar, tried to say that, I need to go to somebody else, just not them. They're tired of dealing with me. And that hurts. It hurts. It's frustrating. I know I'm not alone in this. This is a common problem with people with almost any autoimmune disease. Whether you have MS or ALS or cerebral palsy or, even diabetics have to deal with this. With Lyme disease, it's worse because most of us aren't even recognized as having Lyme disease because of the IDSA guidelines. I have a test that shows that I'm positive for Lyme disease, but the way the test can be interpreted is that at some point in my life I got treated for it. But what actually happens is that your body basically just doesn't produce the fighting antibodies anymore because you've had it so long, it started cloaking itself. It's out of your bloodstream, into your muscles, into your organs. And your body is just like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. And so the only indicator left is the specific antibody. It's titer 41 that indicates that your body has been exposed to Lyme disease. And it's a very common problem. If you search for Lyme titer 41, what does it mean online? Medical journals, official Lyme disease websites, they all have this. I remember my bite. I remember my progression of illness. I remember that from 2007 on, which is what prompted me to start really seeking help. I was getting pneumonia once a year rather than once every other year, which had been the norm since I was 14. I've just learned to live with pneumonia. My tonsils are always enlarged. That's on my list of things to get removed along with my appendix. I have a list of organs that need to be removed because I've been sick for so long that they just don't work anymore. So that's something that people with Lyme disease have to deal with, and they deal with it in different ways. I currently know somebody who can't swallow because of neurological problems from Lyme, and her doctors are telling her that it's in her head. They're telling her to go to a shrink because, clearly she has some emotional issue that's keeping her from swallowing, and she's like, no, I want to eat, and I just thought about it, and I'm like, damn, if she was anorexic or bulimic or something, she could get a feeding tube in her stomach. Well, not bulimic, but anorexic. She could get a feeding tube in her stomach. And with Lyme, they're just like, you just need crazy pills. That's all you need. It's a brain problem. It's a mental problem. It's not a physical problem. Well, I'm not crazy. I know my particular brands of neuroses. I know what they are. I know what they stem from. And panic has never really been something that's been in my life. I usually function better at the last minute. I've always been that kind of type A personality, but more type B in presentation, where I do stuff at the last minute and it still ends up being awesome. I've, you know, I've never been somebody who's worried about something for weeks on end before it actually happens. I'm just like, oh, that's due. Yeah, I'll get to it. And then I do it and it's awesome. And now I can't really do that because my brain function is kind of impaired. So now I'm panicking like all the time. That's not me. I am not a panicker. I'm a fighter. You know, my mom calls me a pistol. I'm the squeaky wheel. You know, I'm the person who always tries to get results, and to not be able to do that, and to not be able to be me because of a disease, and then be told that no, it's not a disease, it's me, that sucks. And I can't resign myself to that. I can't be that person. I'm just tired of it. I've hit a wall. I'm tired of it. I'm not going to do anything to myself. Don't worry. I'm not that level of crazy. Any kind of emotional upset I have right now is frustration and anger, and that's pretty much as far as it goes. I'm frustrated and I'm angry, and it's a very common story, and I hate that it's so common, and I hate that people don't recognize that Lyme is literally everywhere. It's on every continent except Antarctica, and probably not there yet, simply because, like, you know, a lot of parasites don't really survive down there because it's so fucking cold. So yeah, I did good. I got through the video without crying. That's an improvement. I tried to do this earlier and I couldn't stop crying long enough to form a sentence, and now I've spoken for 17 minutes. So yay. I guess my ultimate point in making this is not just to update you guys on what's going on, but also to let you know that this is a real problem that a lot of us face. And it's not going to go away until people start believing that this is a problem. And the people in charge, the IDSA, they don't believe it's a problem because they're basically being squeezed by pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies to pretend it's not possible for people to have chronic Lyme, because the recommended treatment is 2 weeks, maybe 3, of antibiotics, and then you're considered cured. And that doesn't kill Lyme disease. It might if you're really lucky, or if you catch it the day after you're infected, but you don't show symptoms until a month after you're infected, and by that point it's pretty much too late. For traditional 3-week antibiotic regimen. So you basically have to get chemo. You have to get a PICC line directly into your heart of antibiotics to be properly treated for chronic Lyme disease, and that's expensive. It's as expensive as chemotherapy, organ transplant, things like that. And if people don't believe that Lyme disease is a real problem, like people who need organ transplants and people who need chemotherapy for cancer, then we're not going to get treated for it. It's not going to be seen as a priority, and that doesn't sit well with me. Being one of those people didn't sit well with me before I was diagnosed. And I have been diagnosed by a Lyme literate doctor, by the way, so I'm not just interpreting my own test results here. I've been properly diagnosed. But before then, even, I knew people who had Lyme, and it's just absolutely ridiculous to me how doctors who try to treat Lyme are treated by insurance companies. People who have Lyme are treated by insurance companies, by the government, by everybody, and it's like a hopeless situation. And trying to find hope, it's I'm gonna quote Cher from Clueless here. It's like trying to find meaning in a Pauly Shore movie. So it sucks, basically. I've spoken for 20 minutes on the topic, and I hope I didn't bore anybody, but this is a real problem. This is my update. I can't make it any shorter because this is what's going on, and currently I'm in the throes of a terribly exciting drama starring myself and my doctors. And that's it. That's all I gotta say. But have a great week, and good luck to everybody. And if you're currently going through the same issues that I am, I wish you the best of luck. And I have so much sympathy, and I just really hope that this becomes a priority soon, because lots of people are dying needlessly because of this, and it's utter bullshit. And now I'm starting to cry, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video.